Today we are going to talk about social transitions for kids and teens and young adults, if that's where they are. But social transition is something that I talk about a lot with regards to children and preteens and teens that are transgender or non-binary. And that is because there tends to be this misconception or myth, and sometimes it's just a history of the word transgender, where we feel that if a child is transgender or an adult is transgender, it means that they actually have to change their biological sex, and meaning changing their body parts. So it can be shocking sometimes for past generations, older generations, and even my generation, to be completely honest, to hear somebody say, oh, this child is transgender, when you're thinking, oh my God, like the kids said that they want ice cream for breakfast and you give them ice cream for breakfast. So now you're going to perform surgery on a child. It is not, they are not performing surgery on children. Sorry to tell you. Transgender people do not have to have surgery to be transgender. Transgender people don't even have to have medication or cross hormones to be transgender. Transgender and gender identity and gender diversity all have to do with how we perceive ourselves in terms of our femininity and our masculinity. It has nothing to do with body parts. It has nothing to do with who we're attracted to. And it has everything to do with how we see ourselves in our minds and what we are comfortable with in terms of our gender expression. So with a social transition, what that means is they are changing their gender expression. So for some children who are assigned female at birth, they might choose to present more masculine, or if they are non-binary, choose to present less within the binary of masculine and feminine. They may want to just be a little more androgynous, or play with their gender expression, and one day be more masculine and the other day be more feminine, and not be tied to the binary. And so that is a very important lesson that I learned on my journey with my son. He came out as a boy when he was 11. He was assigned female at birth. And initially, when he came out and we started his transition, we did a social transition because he was only 11 years old. And a social transition meant for him, he was actually going from female to completely male. He did not identify as non-binary. He identified as male. So that meant we had to use different pronouns. Initially, we spelt his name in a more male format. He had a gender neutral name, and we used the more male spelling of it. And then eventually he chose, and I kind of helped because I was lucky to be part of the discussion, and he chose a male name. So initially, it is changing how you refer to them, using the pronoun that they are most comfortable with, and the pronoun that they want. And that is the basis of a social transition. There is also how they express themselves. So that means we had to buy boy clothes instead of girl clothes. We had to change his bedding from pink and frilly and lacy to solid blue. And I know that some people say, especially people who identify as non-binary, it's like colors don't have gender, and it doesn't have to go from blue to pink or pink to blue. This is what he wanted. It is how he expressed himself. So he wanted a blue room. He wanted boy clothes. We had to switch out his backpack because his backpack had been more feminine, and we switched it out for a more masculine backpack. The rest was really just who he was, the way he spoke, the games he played, the sports that he chose, the friends that he chose to hang out with. All of that is a social transition. There was no surgery, there was no medication. He just expressed himself as a boy instead of expressing himself as a girl. And got his hair cut. But he got his hair cut a bit before he came out. It was one of those, steps that he was taking to make himself more comfortable. Now, when we're talking about a social transition, that it's social, right? It's not just within the four walls of your house. There is a social life attached to it. So you always have to check with your child and see what it is that they prefer and what makes them comfortable. Some kids and young adults and teens want to try on transitioning in the privacy of their own room, or they want to do it within the household only, and just make sure that they're comfortable with it and make sure that that it is who they truly are. And then they want to go and expand it to other people outside of the home. Other people know, they just know. Mitchell was one of those people who just knew, and there was no half measures with him. He was out, and he was out to the whole world, which is part of the reason why I share our story as a family, because he has always been out and proud and very excited about sharing his story, but also empowered by sharing his story. He truly wants to help other people by sharing his story. So for us, social transition included immediately telling our immediate family, our extended family. He told the school before I got to tell the school, and so they changed his name and his gender markers within the school system before I had even spoken to them about it. We had to change, he was doing music extracurricularly, and we had to change his pronouns there as well. And it becomes a social transition for the whole family, because as he's coming out, we're coming out as a family. Every time that I have a discussion about him during that time of social transition, I had to explain. I was coming out every time, like we had to come out to the dentist, we had to come out to the hairdresser, like constantly coming out. So that can be a challenging place for parents, especially if, some of us weren't really expecting to be on this journey, and it became a bit of a lot. It became a bit of a lot. So those are things that you as a parent need to consider. So I've just explained what a social transition is, and it typically is what goes on with a child and a teen. Young adults will go through it as well, but I don't know that it's as long of a social transition. They may seek interventions through medical care sooner if they are fully transgender. If they are just exploring their gender expression, then it might just be a social transition forever. Now, I want to talk to parents about parenting and how this can be a challenge for us. A lot of the times what I'm talking about, you could just Google what a social transition is, but I want to tell you what it's like to live it. And I want to tell you what you're going to expect to see down the road, and where your challenges are and when you're going to need help. So when my child came out, and we say came out, it's that proverbial coming out of the closet as the person that he truly is and identifies as. What I needed was to go in to my closet, and I needed to bring into my closet the people that I was comfortable with. So my two older children were coming into my closet, my husband and all of my kids, yeah, my sister, my two best friends. They all came into my closet so that I had a safe place to talk about my feelings about Mitchell transitioning and how different our life was going to be, and talk about the challenges of how I had to defend his right to be transgender with the principal, his right to be transgender with, all of the service providers that we had to speak with. People who knew him as a girl had questions when he showed up as a boy. And you know, when they're 11, and he wore a chest binder, so his chest became flat again. And especially, you know, very young kids, when they don't have secondary sex characteristics, it's very easy to cut their hair and put on different clothes, and they pass. So you end up having different conversations over and over again. So for me, the social transition wasn't coming out of the closet, it was going into the closet and bringing in all of these people who were safe, and so that I could get used to it and I could make mistakes using the wrong pronouns and apologize and correct it and talk about my feelings and get used to the fact that I had a transgender son. And then at some point, you end up adding so many people into your closet as a parent that you also come out and break out, and you will be comfortable as the parent of a trans kid. Now, for some people, this happens within a week. They just, some people know their kids so well, and they know that there's something up, and their kid comes out at a young enough age that they just get it right away, and the transition isn't very difficult. For some of us, and I struggled. Like, I was supporting, I was affirming, I did everything that I was supposed to do on the outside of that closet, but on the inside I struggled. And for some of us, this journey takes a little longer until we can come out and be champions for the transgender community and advocates for the transgender community. So give yourself some leeway. This may not happen overnight. It might take a little while, uh, but you'll get there. You will get there, and you will find the people that you can trust on your journey, and you will be able to come out and embrace this social transition. I will, in other videos, talk about what goes beyond the social transition, but for now, this is where we're going to start, and this is where we're going to go. Please subscribe to the channel if you want more information. If you are the parent or caregiver or aunt or uncle or friend of a transgender child, teen, young adult, and you want to stay informed, I will be posting videos every week, so subscribe, and I wish you all the best. Have a great week.